The weapon hummed in my claws, its charge building to lethal capacity. I had the shot. Clean. Perfect. The small human offspring stood 20 meters away, completely unaware, gathering what appeared to be colorful plant matter near the settlement's edge. My combat instructor's words echoed through my mind. Soft targets first. Eliminate the young. Break their spirit. Standard protocol for the Calrith Empire. Proven effective across 47 conquered worlds. I steadied my breathing, the way I'd been trained since my third molt. My finger tightened on the trigger mechanism. 3 seconds until full charge. 2 seconds. Then it happened. Something stepped between my targeting scope and the child. Something that shouldn't exist. Something that made my secondary heart skip a full beat cycle. It was low to the ground, stocky, covered in coarse black and white fur with a distinctive stripe pattern. Its small, dark eyes locked onto mine across the distance with an intelligence that sent ice through my blood vessels. The creature didn't run, didn't hide, didn't make a sound. It just stood there, positioning itself directly in my line of fire, between me and the human child. "What in the name of the seven suns?" I whispered, my weapon wavering. My tactical display identified the species immediately. Mellivora capensis. Common designation, honey badger. Threat level. I blinked at the reading. That couldn't be right. The database had to be malfunctioning. No creature that size could possibly warrant a threat assessment of 9.3 out of 10. I'd faced Krillian deathworms that barely rated a 6. "Move, you stupid animal," I hissed, trying to reacquire my target. The child was still there, now sitting down, completely oblivious to both myself and the strange creature protecting it. The honey badger took a step forward, toward me. My training took over. I shifted my aim, targeting the animal instead. One quick elimination, then back to the primary objective. Simple, efficient. I fired. The plasma bolt screamed through the air, a perfect shot that should have vaporized the creature instantly, should have left nothing but scorched earth and ash. The honey badger shrugged. I'm not speaking metaphorically. The bolt hit it square in the shoulder, and the creature literally shrugged, shook itself like it had been bothered by an insect, and kept walking toward me. "That's impossible," I breathed, my 3-fingered hand trembling. "That's completely, utterly impossible." I fired again, and again. Both shots connected with enough force to punch through combat armor. The honey badger flinched slightly at the second impact, made a sound that could only be described as annoyed, and continued its advance. My weapon's charge indicator was dropping rapidly. I had maybe 4 shots left before needing to reload, and I'd just wasted 3 on a creature that apparently considered plasma fire to be a minor inconvenience. That's when I heard the laughter. Human laughter. I spun my head, my neck scales bristling with alarm. A human adult had emerged from the settlement, drawn by the sound of weapons fire. He was looking at me, then at the honey badger, then back at me, and he was laughing so hard he had to lean against a nearby structure for support. "Oh man," the human gasped between fits of laughter. "Oh man, you picked the wrong babysitter to mess with, buddy." Babysitter? This demon creature was a babysitter? The honey badger was now 15 meters away. Then 10. It moved with a rolling gait that somehow conveyed absolute confidence and zero concern for the weapon I was pointing at it. I activated my comm unit. "Command, this is Scout 7. I've encountered an unexpected variable, requesting immediate tactical advice." Static crackled. Then my commander's voice came through. "Scout 7, define unexpected variable." There's a creature. Classification honey badger. It's not responding to weapons fire, sir." Pause. A very long pause. Then, "Did you say honey badger?" "Affirmative, sir." Another pause. "Scout 7, I'm transmitting an urgent priority override. Abort your mission. Return to the ship immediately. I repeat, abort and return immediately." "Sir? It's just one small animal. I can—" "Scout 7, that is a direct order. Do not engage the honey badger. Retreat now." The panic in my commander's voice, a veteran of 63 campaigns, sent pure terror flooding through my system. In all my years of service, I'd never heard him sound afraid. Angry, yes. Frustrated, certainly. But afraid? Never. The honey badger was now 5 meters away. I did what any sane soldier would do. I ran. My legs pumped frantically, my weapon forgotten in my desperate scramble to put distance between myself and that small, furry nightmare. Behind me, I could hear the human still laughing, now joined by others. The entire settlement seemed to have come out to watch my humiliating retreat. That's right. Run, someone shouted. Butterscotch doesn't play around. Butterscotch. They'd named it Butterscotch, a name suggesting sweetness and comfort. A name so utterly inappropriate for that creature it bordered on psychological warfare. I reached the tree line and risked a glance back. The honey badger had stopped pursuing me. It had returned to the child, who was now petting it, running small hands through its coarse fur while making those cooing sounds human younglings produced. The creature's entire demeanor had shifted, becoming almost docile as it accepted the child's attention. My comm unit crackled again. Scout 7. Report status. I've reached safe distance, sir. The creature has broken off pursuit. Thank the ancients. My commander actually sounded relieved. Scout 7, return to the ship. We need to discuss Earth's fauna in your debriefing. Sir, I don't understand. It's just one animal. Surely our military superiority. Scout 7, do you know why Earth has never been successfully invaded despite being cataloged for resource extraction by 16 different empires? No, sir. The fauna. It's always the fauna. We thought we could handle it. We studied their large predators, their venomous species, their apex hunters. We prepared countermeasures for everything from their polar bears to their saltwater crocodiles. We were ready. I scrambled over a fallen log. My breathing labored. And we weren't ready for the small ones, the ones that don't care, the ones that wake up every morning and choose violence as a lifestyle. Do you know what happened to the Vraxian scout team that landed in a place called Australia? No, sir. Neither do we. We found their ship 3 weeks later. Empty. The only clue was camera footage of something called a cassowary. The footage cut off after 30 seconds. There were screams. I felt my stomach acids churning. Sir, are you saying Earth is too dangerous to invade because of its animals? I'm saying Earth is too dangerous to invade because its animals are more aggressive than most planets' apex predators, and the humans have domesticated or befriended the worst of them. Scout Team 3 landed near a farm. They were driven off by a bird. A bird, Scout 7. The humans call them geese. Team 3's combat psychologist is still in therapy. This had to be exaggeration, propaganda perhaps. Sir, with respect, surely our advanced weaponry, the Krellian Empire tried that. Full orbital bombardment of a coastal region. They eliminated what they calculated was 80% of threatening fauna in the target zone. They landed with a full battalion. 3 days later, a single human civilian vessel found 17 survivors. The soldiers were hiding in their own dropship, refusing to come out. They'd been under siege by seagulls. 17 survivors out of 300, Scout 7, defeated by birds that eat garbage. I was beginning to understand why Earth remained unconquered despite its strategic value. What about the honey badger, specifically, sir? My commander's voice took on a tone I'd never heard before. Something like respect mixed with deep, profound fear. The honey badger is special. There's documentation of one attacking a full-grown Cape buffalo. It lost, eventually, but it fought for 6 hours before retreating. 6 hours, Scout 7. It never occurred to the creature that it might be outmatched. That's insane. There's recorded footage of honey badgers breaking into human research facilities, not for food, but apparently out of spite. They've learned to use tools. Basic tools. Yes, but tools nonetheless. One was observed fashioning a rake out of branches to pull food closer. Another figured out how to open a locked gate after watching humans do it 3 times. I stumbled, catching myself against a tree. You're telling me we're retreating from a planet because its wildlife is too stubborn to die? I'm telling you that the humans didn't need to develop advanced weapons to survive their world. They survived by being just slightly crazier than everything trying to kill them. And the creatures that couldn't kill them, they befriended them. They made allies of monsters. That honey badger you encountered? It probably volunteers for guard duty. It probably enjoys it. Back at the settlement, I could see the child being led inside by an adult, the honey badger trotting alongside like a loyal companion. The humans were waving at me. Actually waving. Some were holding up communication devices, likely recording my retreat for entertainment purposes. Scout 7. One more thing. Yes, sir. The human settlement you were observing. Did you notice the lack of defensive fortifications? Now that he mentioned it. Yes, sir. No walls. No automated defenses. No guard towers. They don't need them. We've been monitoring radio transmissions. Do you know what they call their settlement defense system? No, sir. Butterscotch. I felt faint. An entire settlement, defended by one moderately sized mammal with an apparent immunity to plasma fire and the temperament of a berserker warrior. There's a report, my commander continued, from the Zelthorian advance team. They attempted to infiltrate a human dwelling at night. Silent entry. Professional execution. They were detected by something the humans call a chihuahua. It weighs approximately 3 kilograms. It alerted the entire household by producing sounds registered at over 100 decibels. The team was then chased for 2 city blocks by the homeowner wielding only a footwear item. The Empire abandoned that invasion vector entirely. A shoe? They were defeated by someone with a shoe? The homeowner was 74 years old and had recently undergone hip replacement surgery, according to medical records we intercepted. She covered 2 blocks in under 90 seconds. I reached my concealed vessel, practically throwing myself through the airlock. The familiar hum of my ship's systems felt like safety, like sanity returning. Scout 7. Set course for the flagship. We're aborting the Earth operation. The entire operation, sir. We have 17 scout teams deployed. Had 17 scout teams. Team 2 was compromised by housecats. Team 5 radioed in about something called a trash panda before going silent. Team 9 made the mistake of landing in Florida. We've written them off as casualties. Florida, sir? Don't ask. Just don't. The survivors who make it out of Florida are never the same. They speak of alligators in swimming pools, snakes falling from the sky, and humans who respond to Category 5 hurricanes by having parties. It's madness. Beautiful, terrifying madness. I engaged the engines, lifting off from the forest clearing I'd used as cover. Below, the human settlement continued its daily routines, utterly unbothered by the alien scout who'd just attempted to harm one of their children. Butterscotch was visible in my rear cameras, sitting in the middle of the settlement square, watching my ship ascend. Even from this distance, even through multiple sensors and screens, I swear that creature was staring directly at me, and it looked disappointed, like I'd robbed it of entertainment. Sir, hypothetically, if we absolutely had to invade Earth, what would be the recommended approach? My commander laughed. It wasn't a happy sound. We don't. The cost-benefit analysis is clear. Every empire that's tried has either retreated or been forced to negotiate treaties so favorable to humans they might as well be surrender documents. The humans don't even realize they've won these conflicts. They think they're making friends. Friends, sir? The Yaltharian Empire attempted invasion 60 years ago. They're now Earth's primary trading partner and have adopted human coffee as a mandatory ration for all military personnel. The collective tried 20 years back. They now host annual cultural exchange programs and their youth attend human universities. Every invasion becomes a trade agreement. Every war becomes a partnership. It's humiliating. My ship broke atmosphere, the blue planet falling away below me. From orbit, Earth looked peaceful, inviting, even. White clouds swirling over blue oceans and green continents. No visible weapons, no planetary shields, no orbital defense platforms. They didn't need them. They had honey badgers and geese. and chihuahuas, and apparently creatures called trash pandas, whatever nightmares those might be. And they had humans who thought all of these monsters made excellent pets and babysitters. Scout 7. Upon arrival at the flagship, you'll undergo standard debriefing, followed by psychological evaluation. This is protocol for all Earth encounters. Understood, sir. Sir? One question? Go ahead. Why do they call them honey badgers if they're so aggressive? Honey implies sweetness. Another laugh, darker this time. Because they raid beehives for honey. They attack swarms of stinging insects, get stung hundreds of times, take a nap to sleep off the venom, then continue eating. They're called honey badgers because they love honey enough to fight thousands of armed insects for it, and they consider the injuries an acceptable cost. I let that sink in. A creature so determined to get what it wanted that it would endure hundreds of venomous stings, shrug them off, and keep going. And the humans had domesticated it, had named it Butterscotch and trusted it to protect their children. What kind of species does that? The answer was obvious. The kind of species that had climbed their way to the top of a death world food chain not through superior strength or speed, but through sheer, bloody-minded stubbornness and the ability to make friends with anything that didn't immediately kill them. And sometimes, apparently, things that did try to kill them. My ship's navigation system locked onto the flagship's beacon. 3 hours until docking. 3 hours to prepare my report about how I'd been defeated by an animal that weighed maybe 10 kilograms and answered to a name more suited to a dessert than a demon. The comm system beeped. Text message from command. All scout teams. Extraction in progress. Earth invasion cancelled. New objective. Negotiate trade agreement. Approach. Friendly. Very friendly. Extremely friendly. Do not upset the humans. And for the love of all that's sacred, do not approach, engage, or make eye contact with anything they call a pet. Below that, a list appeared. A very long list of Earth fauna marked as extreme threat. Honey badger topped the list, but geese, swans, cassowaries, hippos, and something called a Florida man were all close seconds. I still didn't understand what Florida man was. The database listed it as both a location and a state of being. The threat assessment simply read, yes. 3 months later, I found myself standing in the same forest clearing, though this time under very different circumstances. No weapons, no stealth gear. Just me, a diplomatic credentials chip, and a cargo container full of what command assured me were appropriate gifts for establishing peaceful contact. The irony wasn't lost on me. I'd gone from would-be assassin to ambassador in the span of 1 fiscal quarter. Remind me again why I'm the one doing this? I muttered into my comm unit. My commander's voice came through, far too cheerful for my liking. Because you've already met Butterscotch and survived, that makes you uniquely qualified. Plus, the psychological evaluation cleared you for duty. Barely. Barely still counts. Now, standard protocols. Approach slowly. Keep your hands visible. Smile if your species can manage it. And whatever you do, whatever happens, do not run. Running triggers their chase instinct. They're what? Humans evolved as persistence hunters. They're biologically programmed to chase things that run. It's why their children play tag and their adults participate in marathons. Movement equals interest. Stay calm, stay still, and you'll be fine. I took a deep breath, adjusted my translator unit, and stepped into the clearing. The settlement looked different in daylight without the filter of tactical display screens. Smaller, somehow. More welcoming. Smoke rose from several buildings, carrying smells I couldn't identify but found oddly pleasant. A human spotted me within seconds. Young, maybe 20 cycles if I understood their aging correctly. He raised a hand in greeting, then turned and shouted toward the settlement. Hey, we got a visitor. The alien kind. So much for a subtle approach. Within minutes, a small crowd had gathered at the settlement's edge. Men, women, children, all watching with expressions ranging from curiosity to excitement. Not fear. Not aggression. Just interest. And sitting at the front of the group, like a furry, black and white sentinel, was Butterscotch. The honey badger's dark eyes fixed on me. I could practically hear it thinking, "Oh, you again? Come back for round 2? I come in peace," I said, my translator converting the words to English. "My name is Crix, and I represent the Calreth Empire. We wish to establish diplomatic relations." An older human stepped forward, gray hair, weathered skin, eyes that had seen too much. Military background, if I had to guess. He looked me up and down, then glanced at Butterscotch. "You're the one who took shots at Butterscotch last season," he said. Not a question. A statement. Yes. In my defense, I was aiming at. I stopped myself. Probably not wise to mention I'd been targeting a child. I was on a reconnaissance mission. Orders have since changed. Significantly. The human's expression didn't shift. "And now you want to be friends?" "I want to not be enemies. There's a difference." He considered this, then nodded slowly. "Fair enough. Name's Marcus. I run this settlement. Well, I say, run. Mostly I just try to keep people from doing stupid things. I fail a lot." He gestured at the cargo container. "What's in the box?" "Gifts. Cultural exchange items. Technology samples. A formal apology in written form, translated into 643 Earth languages to ensure proper coverage." A woman in the crowd laughed. 643? Someone did their homework. "We wanted to be thorough," I admitted. "Our previous approach to Earth relations was flawed." "You mean trying to shoot our kids?" a younger man called out. "Direct. These humans were very direct." "Yes, that. Among other tactical errors. We've since revised our entire strategic assessment of Earth." Marcus crossed his arms. "Let me guess. You figured out that invading us would be more trouble than it's worth?" "That's an oversimplification but essentially accurate. Our combat simulations suggested a 78% casualty rate in the first wave alone. Primarily due to fauna-related incidents." "Fauna-related incidents," Marcus repeated, a smile tugging at his lips. "That's a fancy way of saying you're scared of our animals." "Respectfully, Commander Marcus. Anything that shrugs off plasma fire and continues advancing deserves healthy respect, not fear." Butterscotch made a sound. A low, rumbling chortle that I swear was laughter. Marcus's expression softened slightly. "You've got guts. Coming back here. Stupid guts, maybe, but guts nonetheless. All right, let's see these gifts." The next hour was surreal. My cargo container, filled with advanced technology, rare minerals, and cultural artifacts worth a fortune on any civilized world, was received with polite interest but little enthusiasm. The humans thanked me, examined each item briefly, then set them aside, until I pulled out the food samples. "These are Calrith delicacies," I explained, opening a preservation unit. "Spiced grain cakes, fermented vegetable paste, crystallized sugar formations, and, is that chocolate?" a child interrupted, pointing at the brown crystallized samples. "I don't know what chocolate is. This is sweetened cacrin extract." The child's mother examined the package, read the ingredient list through the translator, and her eyes widened. "This is basically chocolate. Different source, same chemical composition." She looked at me. "Can we try it?" "Of course. That's the purpose of." I didn't finish the sentence. The chocolate samples disappeared into the crowd faster than I could track. Within seconds, humans were sampling, discussing, comparing notes. The advanced fusion reactor I'd brought as a centerpiece gift sat forgotten while a debate raged about whether the cacrin chocolate had hints of caramel or vanilla. Marcus handed me a cup of something hot and brown. "Coffee. You look like you could use it." I accepted cautiously, sniffed it, and took a small sip. Bitter, complex, strangely energizing. "This is acceptable." "High praise, Marcus," said with a grin. "So, Crix, you want to establish relations. What does that actually mean? Trade? Alliance? You hoping to strip mine our asteroid belt?" "Nothing so aggressive. Primarily, we'd like to avoid accidentally starting a war we can't win. Secondarily, we're interested in cultural exchange." Your species has achieved things we find, remarkable. Such as, you've domesticated wolves. You've turned apex predators into companions that sleep in your homes and play with your children. You've taken one of nature's most efficient killers and convinced it to wear sweaters and perform tricks for treats. Marcus laughed. A genuine belly laugh. You're talking about dogs? Yes, dogs. Do you understand how insane that is from an outside perspective? You took wolves, and you made them love you. It wasn't exactly overnight. Took a few thousand years. You have that kind of patience. That's terrifying. A commotion near the settlement entrance drew our attention. A vehicle was approaching, kicking up dust. It pulled to a stop, and a woman emerged, leading 3 massive creatures on leashes. Canines. Dogs. Each one easily massed 40 kilograms. That's Janet, Marcus explained. She runs the breeding program. Breeding program for what? Guard dogs. Livestock protection. Search and rescue. These 3 are German shepherds. Smart, loyal, protective. Good dogs. The creatures bounded toward us, and I fought every instinct to run. They were enormous. Teeth designed for tearing. Jaws that could crush bone. And they were heading straight for me with what looked like aggressive intent. They stopped 3 feet away, tails wagging, tongues hanging out, eyes bright with curiosity. They want you to pet them, Marcus said. Pet them? They're predators. They're dogs. Go on. They don't bite. Usually. That was not reassuring. I extended a trembling hand. The largest dog sniffed it, then pushed its head under my palm, demanding attention. Its fur was soft, warm. The creature made a satisfied sound as I awkwardly scratched behind its ears. See? Not so scary. This is psychological warfare, I muttered. You've weaponized cuteness. Welcome to Earth. Over the next several hours, I was introduced to the settlement's various residents, both human and otherwise. There were cats, which I was informed were basically small tigers that humans allowed to live in their homes despite the cats' obvious contempt for their hosts. There were chickens, descendants of jungle fowl, kept for eggs. There were goats, which apparently would eat anything and had a talent for escape. And there was Kevin. Kevin was a parrot. Specifically, an African gray. He sat on a perch near the settlement's central meeting area, watching everything with unsettling intelligence. Hello, Kevin said as I approached. Clear, perfect English. I froze. Did that bird just, yep? Marcus confirmed. Kevin talks. He's learned about 200 words. Uses them, contextually. That's impossible. Birds don't have the cognitive capacity. Stupid alien, Kevin interrupted. Want a cracker? Stupid alien want a cracker? The humans nearby burst into laughter. I felt my face scales flush with embarrassment. Kevin, be nice, Marcus chided. Be nice. Be nice. Kevin is nice. Alien is stupid. The parrot bobbed its head, clearly pleased with itself. I've faced combat drones with less personality, I said weakly. Kevin's special. Found him at a rescue center. Previous owner taught him some questionable vocabulary. We're working on it. Questionable vocabulary? As if on cue, Kevin launched into a string of words that my translator struggled to process, but flagged as extremely vulgar. The humans tried to shush him, which only seemed to encourage the bird. This was my diplomatic mission. Being insulted by livestock. Butterscotch approached, having apparently decided I was no longer an immediate threat. The honey badger circled me once, sniffed my boots, then sat down directly on my feet. Marcus? Why is it sitting on me? Means he likes you. Or he's claiming you. Hard to tell with Butterscotch. Claiming me? As property. You're his now. Congratulations. I looked down at the creature pinning my feet with its compact muscular body. The same creature that had tanked plasma bolts and kept coming. It was now using me as furniture. I don't suppose I get a say in this. You could try moving. I'll get the medical supplies ready. I stayed very, very still. A young girl approached. The same one I'd seen 3 months ago. The one I'd almost I pushed the thought away. She looked up at me with wide eyes. Are you a good alien or a bad alien? Humans. They ask the most complicated questions in the simplest ways. I'm trying to be a good alien, I said honestly. She considered this. Okay. Butterscotch likes you, so you're probably okay. He's a good judge of character. Is he? He bit the tax assessor last month. Turned out the guy was embezzling. Butterscotch knew. The honey badger detected financial fraud. Marcus shrugged. We don't question it anymore. Butterscotch has instincts. The girl reached out and patted my arm. You're weird looking, but that's okay. I'm Emma. Want to see my rock collection? Before I could respond, she'd grabbed my hand and was pulling me toward a nearby building. Butterscotch, still sitting on my feet, made an annoyed sound at being disturbed but waddled along beside us. Emma's rock collection was extensive. Impressive even. She'd organized specimens by type, color, and size. She explained each one with enthusiasm, telling me where she'd found it and why it was special. This one's my favorite, she said, holding up a chunk of quartz. I found it by the river. See how it catches the light? It's quite beautiful, I admitted. You can have it if you want. I blinked. I couldn't possibly, I insist. You need a rock to remember Earth by. That way, you'll tell your friends we're not scary. I accepted the quartz carefully. It was a simple gesture, a child giving a rock to a stranger. But something in my chest tightened. 3 months ago I'd been prepared to kill this child. Now she was giving me gifts. Thank you, Emma. I'll treasure this. Cool. Want to meet the chickens? The chickens were, I learned, surprisingly aggressive. One of them, a large brown specimen named Henrietta, chased me around the enclosure while Emma laughed. Butterscotch watched with what I can only describe as amusement. By the time the sun began setting, I'd been introduced to approximately 40 humans, 12 dogs, 7 cats, 1 parrot with a vocabulary that would make a soldier blush, an unknown number of chickens, and a goat named Professor Whiskers who'd eaten my preliminary trade agreement. Marcus invited me to share their evening meal. I accepted, despite my nutrition requirements being very different from theirs. They'd prepared something called stew, a mixture of vegetables, meat, and spices that smelled incredible. So, Marcus said as we ate, what does your empire really want from us? Honestly, to not make you angry enough to retaliate. He raised an eyebrow. You think we'd attack you? I think if we threatened Earth, you'd find a way to fight back. And based on what we've observed, that fight would not go well for us. We're not warriors. Most of us, anyway. You don't need to be. You're survivors. You've survived everything your planet threw at you for millions of years. Ice ages, predators, diseases, disasters. And instead of just surviving, you thrived. You turned wolves into dogs. You domesticated fire. You looked at space and decided you wanted to go there. That's not warrior spirit. That's something more dangerous. That's determination. Marcus was quiet for a moment. You know what's funny? We don't think of ourselves that way. We're just doing our best. That's what makes you terrifying. You don't even realize how formidable you are. The meal continued with lighter conversation. They asked about my world, my species, my culture. I answered as honestly as I could, finding myself relaxing in a way I hadn't expected. These humans, they were just people. Strange people with dangerous pets and questionable judgment about what constituted safe animals to keep around children, but people nonetheless. Kevin the parrot kept interrupting with commentary. More stew. Kevin wants more stew. Stupid alien eating all the stew. There's plenty, Kevin, someone assured him. Plenty. Plenty stew. Kevin is handsome. Kevin is smart. Alien is ugly. I couldn't even argue. Compared to a parrot's colorful plumage, my gray scales were rather dull. As the evening wore on, Marcus walked me back to my ship. Butterscotch followed, apparently having decided I needed an escort. Your empire, Marcus said. They planning to leave us alone now? That's the intention. We'll maintain observation satellites, monitor for any threats to Earth from other species, and occasionally send diplomats to check in. But no invasion. No resource extraction. No interference. And if another empire tries something, we'll inform you immediately. What you do with that information is your choice. Marcus nodded. Fair enough. Tell your people something for me? Of course. Tell them we appreciate the honesty. Tell them we're open to friendship, trade, cultural exchange, all of that. But also tell them that if anyone tries to hurt our kids again, honey badgers are just the beginning. We've got a whole planet full of creatures we've been training for thousands of years, and we've gotten very good at making friends with monsters. I believed him. Completely. I'll relay that message, Commander Marcus. Verbatim. We shook hands, a human gesture of agreement and respect. His grip was firm but not crushing, a measured show of strength. Butterscotch sat down, watching my ship. The honey badger gave me one last look, as if to say, I'm watching you. Don't make me come up there. I boarded my vessel, secured Emma's quartz crystal in a safe compartment, and initiated launch procedures. As I lifted off, I could see the settlement below, lights beginning to glow as darkness fell, humans going about their lives, children playing, dogs barking. Somewhere, Kevin was probably insulting someone, and Butterscotch stood watch, guardian of a species that had befriended him despite, or perhaps because of, his dangerous nature. My comm unit activated. Scout 7, this is command. Report status. Mission successful, sir. Diplomatic relations established. No casualties. Minimal property damage, though a goat ate some paperwork. A goat ate never mind. How were the humans? I thought about Emma's rock collection. Marcus's measured warning. Janet's dogs. Kevin's insults. Butterscotch's territorial claim over my feet. They're remarkable, sir. Frustrating, unpredictable, dangerous when threatened, but remarkable. I think they'll be good allies. Any recommendations for future contact? Yes, sir. Bring gifts. Specifically chocolate or anything resembling chocolate. They respond well to it. Also, never, under any circumstances, threaten their children, or their pets, especially the pets. Noted. And the honey badger? I glanced at my rear display. Butterscotch was still visible, a small dark shape against the settlement's lights. The honey badger is everything we feared and more, sir, but I think he's on our side now. Mostly. Probably. I'm choosing to believe he's on our side. Good enough. Set course for home, Scout 7. Well done. As Earth fell away behind me, I couldn't help but smile. I'd arrived as an enemy, and left as something resembling a friend. I'd been adopted by a honey badger, insulted by a parrot, gifted a rock by a child, and fed stew by former targets. Humans. They'd conquered their world not through strength alone, but through an inexplicable ability to make alliances with the most unlikely creatures. They'd looked at wolves and seen friends. They'd looked at honey badgers and seen babysitters. They'd looked at parrots and thought, yes, let's teach them to talk, what could go wrong? And somehow, impossibly, it worked. In my personal log, I made a final entry. Earth. Status upgraded from potential conquest to protected ally. Threat assessment remains high, but threat is now directed outward on our behalf, rather than toward us. Recommend all future contact be conducted with respect, honesty, and chocolate. Mission parameters exceeded. Returning home with new perspective on what makes a species truly dangerous. It's not weapons or technology. It's the ability to inspire loyalty in creatures that have every reason to be hostile. Humans possess this ability in abundance. We are fortunate they're willing to be friends. I paused, then added one more line. Note to self. Research Florida. Determine if Florida man is species, location, or existential threat. Current data inconclusive but deeply concerning. The stars stretched ahead, infinite and welcoming. And somewhere behind me, on a small blue planet, a honey badger named Butterscotch settled down for the night. Guardian duties complete. At least until the next alien showed up asking for trouble. I almost pitied them. Almost.